Had a bit more success with women since I won Britain's Got Talent though. Mainly because my Tinder profile photograph has been my disabled parking badge. The ladies just can't resist being able to park right outside of Primark. One girl that I met on Tinder looked really hot. We seemed to click straight away, so I didn't tell her about my disability. It's not that I wanted to lie to her. I just didn't want her to use me as a friend with benefits. And I don't mean for the casual sex. I mean for my disability living allowance. She kept saying how beautiful I looked, and that she loved my big blue eyes, and how she liked looking at my photographs. To be honest, I didn't want to ruin the moment. As time went on, it got harder to tell her the truth. Eventually we decided to meet, and I knew she would find out about my disability when she saw me. Let's face it, it's pretty sodding obvious. You can tell I'm disabled by my hair. The day we finally met, I was so nervous. What if she was mad at me? What if she just walked away? My heart was pounding hard as I heard her walk up behind me. My legs went more wobbly than normal. I thought I was going to collapse. I turned around with excitement. I looked her in the eyes, and it was at that moment when I realized she hadn't told me that she was blind. The lying bitch. But it was a match made in heaven when you think about it. She was a really attractive woman, but she couldn't see how fit she was. And I couldn't tell her that. I looked like one of the Chuckle brothers. The one that is dead. In fact, I told her that I looked like one of those dickheads off Love Island. But the only voice I could find that was anything like a sexy dickhead off Love Island was a satellite navigation voice I downloaded off the internet. Of course, this was awkward in itself, as I could only say certain words and phrases. She was probably wondering why I was directing her to places all the time.
At the top of the stairs, bear left. At the end of the corridor, turn right into my bedroom. When you get to the bed, go forward, then reverse, then forward. Reverse, forward, reverse, forward, reverse, forward, reverse, forward, reverse, forward, reverse, forward. You have reached your destination. 15 minutes earlier than planned.
One of the best things about dating another disabled person was the fact that we could both take advantage of our situation. We got twice the benefit money. We both got to jump the queue at Alton Towers. And we both got to park in the disabled spaces at the supermarket. Don't get me wrong. We were not rich enough to own 2 cars. We just parked 1 car over 2 spaces. Because we were both bastards as well. I tried to be a very thoughtful boyfriend, and I only took her to accessible restaurants. I once took her to this lovely place because I thought it had a Braille menu. But it turned out just to be splashes of dried-on cheese sauce. To be honest, I was a bit shit at the romantic gestures anyway. Let's face it, if I tried to cook her a nice meal, I would have just burned the house down. I couldn't really turn up at her door in the rain because I would have just got an electric shock. And I would have been rubbish at serenading her with a guitar. I thought about just playing her a bit of Ed Sheeran on Spotify, but she wasn't worth the £9.99 to get rid of the adverts. However, I guess I could have wowed her with a fantastic version of the old Nokia ringtone. Do-do-do-do, 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 da-da. 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 Da-da. I think the final nail in our relationship was when I tried to spice things up again by sending her dirty text messages. I don't like to brag, but I'm quite good with words. As long as they're typed, obviously. So I thought I could easily get her turned on by telling her what I wanted to do to her when we were next alone. Of course, I'd forgotten that when she received a text message from me, her phone actually read it out to her. Which is unfortunate, because she worked as a primary school teacher. And it didn't just read the text either. It read out all the emojis as well. It turns out that that changes the context of even the sexiest of messages. For example, this is what was read out whenever I sent her the laughing emoji.
Face rolling on the floor laughing.
And this is what was read out whenever I sent her the sick emoji.
Distressed face vomiting.
So, when I tried to send her a sexy text message, it turns out that all she heard was this.
I want to stick my big hard aubergine into your wet, happy cat face until you are sweaty red face with tongue hanging out. Squirty water, squirty water, squirty water, peach. Smiling face with horns.
To cut a long story short, the RSPCA have now banned me from ever owning a cat. She always said I was shit at making small talk after we'd slept together as well. In my defense, I think I talk quite a lot for a man who can't actually speak. In fact, sometimes I talk so much that my friends have to shut me up by putting me into flight mode. But the fact is that I really don't like my voice. It's just too bland and boring. The main reason I don't like it is because even Siri can't understand me, which is really taking the piss. Let me demonstrate. Hey Siri, play me my chill out playlist.
Sorry, I can't understand you.
I said, play me my chill out playlist.
Can you try that again?
For God's sake, Siri.
Sorry, I can't understand you.
Play me my chill out playlist.
Adding chili to your shopping list.
Siri, why can you never understand me? We have the same father. Let's face it, being a comedian, when you can't even speak, is a pretty messed up idea as well. Just imagine how shit I must be at everything else if this was my most viable option. That's like James Corden wanting to be a television presenter. The fact is that I just had the world's worst careers guidance counselor while I was at school. I know this is true because he also got me work experience as a disc jockey for local radio. I spent 2 weeks working as the bloke who rings people and tries to steal their bank details. And he got me a Saturday job in Marks and Spencer. I was the voice in the lift. Not everyone at my school was useless though. I had this great English teacher who always pushed me to follow my dreams. So I was also a poet when I was younger. And I've kept all my poems to this day. I'll read you some of my best work. Roses are red, violets are blue. I'm a great poet, error 404, rhyme not found. I'll be honest, there isn't even anything written in this notebook, because I'm not reading it out. I'm pressing a bloody button. However, using a communication aid gave me some advantages at school. Obviously, it did make puberty slightly easier at that time when every boy's voice drops. Luckily for me, I could just go into my settings and change it to older bloke.
Which was much better than having to sound like this.
Thankfully, when I left school, I did manage to get a proper job. I set up a website for disabled people, rating hotels based on how accessible they were. I called it TripAdvisor. I've also had a job at a call center. No, seriously. I think it was my posh telephone voice that got me the job. It was all going really well until someone phoned up and I had to show that I cared about their problems by sounding all sympathetic. If you haven't noticed by now, I cannot convey any emotion at all. Basically, I'm the bastard love child of Stephen Hawking and Margaret Thatcher. And that's why I no longer work for the Samaritans. But I think I've always tried to work hard and do my best at everything I do. I was definitely inspired to be ambitious by my parents, who had amazing jobs as well. My mum was a nurse. She was the Florence Nightingale of her day. Then I came along and we became Florence and the Machine. If I'm being honest though, I've always wanted to be an astronaut. That would be my dream job. I've wanted to do it ever since I was a small child and I watched Button Moon. Just imagine flying up among the stars. It would be incredible. Plus, in space, things would be a bit more leveled up. Because everyone would walk as badly as I do. So, I'm pleased that the European Space Agency are looking for disabled people who want to be astronauts at the moment. You know things are messed up when a spaceship could be a more accessible form of transport than a national rail train. Forget about Neil Armstrong. It's all about Neil Armless. While I salute their attempts to try to be more diverse, I just don't see how it's going to work. I mean, do you really want me to be the one who makes first contact with an alien race? It would take me half an hour to type out, "I come in peace." They would take one look at me, decide that the Earth wasn't developed enough to live on, and sod off back home. I can't help feeling that sending disabled people into space is just the government's way of getting rid of a few more of us. If they can't kill us off with a deadly virus, shooting us off into outer space is the next best thing. The Queen has probably made sure that there's space on the next flight for Harry and Meghan as well. Also, I don't mean to sound negative about it all, but I struggle to put my own underwear on. So there's no way I'm putting a spacesuit on without any problems. I'll probably put my helmet on backwards and suffocate myself on the moon. And, let's face it, the Lost in Space guy just doesn't have the same ring to it. Or, as the internet will undoubtedly call me, the misplaced in space boy. But the main reason why sending a disabled person into space is a bad idea is because instead of telling Houston that you have a problem, Houston would have to assess whether you have a problem first. And if it's anything like the Department of Work and Pensions, that would take years. And, in the end, they would still call you a lying bastard. Because, let's be honest, it would seem that our society has a very weird relationship with disabled people. We are either seen as superhuman or as some sort of burden on the community. There just isn't any middle ground at all. We are encouraged to go out and do our best to succeed on one hand, while, on the other hand, the government takes away the ability for us to live independently at all. A good example of this is the way that claiming disability benefits works in this country. The new personal independence payment is based on a point system. It's just like the disabled version of the Eurovision Song Contest. And I can probably sing and dance better than this year's British entry. If you're wondering how it works, the lower you can score on a chart, the more money you will receive. And if that concept sounds familiar to you, it's because it's the premise of the TV game show, Pointless. And I don't think the government should be getting their inspiration from things they've just watched on television. It's a good job they didn't watch Naked Attraction. Or we might have ended up with a girl from Essex deciding who was entitled to benefits solely based on the size of their dicks. And if that happened, I would seriously have to downsize my house. I might take the piss a lot, but the fact of the matter is that the government are forcing people to come off benefits and go back to work, even though they are not fit to do so. The saddest part is that people are dying because of this. One of my friends, who has only one arm, was even asked if his other arm would grow back at his assessment for work interview. I know that sounds ridiculous, and you probably find it hard to believe. So here's the news article, just to prove how messed up it is. Of course, you can get anything on eBay these days. So I got him this to wear to the next interview, just for a bit of a laugh. I have first-hand experience of this government's incompetence as well. I had to ring up their helpline recently because I had some questions about my benefits. And even that was an ordeal. Basically, the bloke on the phone refused to speak to me because I couldn't prove that I was the one typing. I probably didn't help the situation by saying that he couldn't prove that it was him speaking either. But when you think about it, he could have been anyone. I couldn't see him, and he couldn't see me. Because that's how bloody telephones work. Eventually the man agreed to let my mother speak on the phone on my behalf. I had a last laugh though.
Because I just changed the voice on my iPad instead.
But it's this sort of attitude that has taught me to always stand up for what I believe in. Even if I stand quite wonky. In fact, people are often asking me why I always lean to the left when I'm standing. It's got nothing to do with my disability. That's just how much I hate the Tories. People think they can treat disabled people badly because we never protest. But the fact is that we're just not very good at marches. So, it's important to get our voices heard in other ways instead. For me, it is stand-up comedy that has finally given me a voice. I think joking about my condition helps me cope a lot. I've always seen the funny side of my disability, and I think that's been very important to me. In that sense, I believe that comedy is a very powerful tool because it is the perfect way to tackle difficult subjects in a way that can make people both laugh and think at the same time. At the end of the day, I didn't start doing stand-up comedy to become a role model for other people, but I appreciate that I have inadvertently become one. As I said at the start of the show, I don't really see myself as an inspiration or anything. I'm just a bloke trying to get on with this life. I'm not doing anything special. But I don't mind if other people see me as a role model. If it helps encourage them to follow their dreams and gives them hope for the future, then I'm not going to complain about that. But much more needs to be done. It would be nice for every disabled child to realize they have the opportunity to do whatever they like when they grow up. But they'll only believe this if they see other people in a similar situation being successful. One day, I hope that no disabled person will be labeled as an inspiration just for getting on with their lives and trying to achieve their goals. And I hope that one day we are just accepted for who we are as people rather than being defined by our disability. Because only then will disabled people feel fully a part of society. Thank you very much for that unprompted round of applause. There was really no need at all. Of course, one thing that would help myself feel a little less disabled would be to sound a bit more like my family and friends. So, I'm pleased to announce that I've finally got my Geordie accent. It's no secret that I've always wanted one. I just don't think that this voice represents where I come from. And it isn't exactly the voice that I would have had if I wasn't disabled. To be honest, there's nothing wrong with this voice except from the fact that it's very posh. It sounds like I should be reading the shipping forecast on Radio 4. So, it would mean a lot to me to finally be able to sound like my mates. With that in mind, who's ready to hear my new Geordie accent?
Why, man, this sounds canny lush.
Look
I
at
know
what.
that the ladies love a Newcastle accent, so you can form an orderly queue after the show. The ironic thing is that now some of you can't even understand what the hell I am saying. Thank you, everyone. I have been Lost Voice Guy. If you find my voice, please contact me as soon as possible on my social media. I have to go now because the babysitter is waiting at home. I told her that my children, Siri and Alexa, were asleep upstairs. Obviously, I haven't really got any kids. I'm just looking forward to seeing her face when I ask her where they are. If you want to take a selfie with me, I'll come out and meet you after the show, because I'm an attention-seeking bastard. I'll also be selling some of my Lost Voice Guy t-shirts, books, and DVDs featuring my previous shows, trying to make back a bit of the money that the Tories have taken away in benefits. It's been a pleasure to perform at. Insert the name of your comedy venue here. You've been a fantastic audience. Even if you haven't, I can't really change what I say at this point. If you have enjoyed the show, please spread the word and tell all your family and friends about it. Shouting about it on social media would be great as well. Word of mouth makes a massive difference, and I'd really appreciate your support. I hope you have enjoyed laughing at a disabled man. Remember, it's only okay to laugh at a disabled person if you paid good money to do so. Since I've enjoyed myself so much, I think I will end the show with a song and dance routine. After all, let's just hope the venue has accident insurance. I just can't get you out of my head.